Hey, what's going on? I am in Tuskegee. There aren't many more names more synonymous with the growth of not just civil rights, but the importance of Black history in this country. So I'm gonna pan out real quick just to give you guys an idea of where I'm at. Just to give you an idea of where I'm at, I am at the national site, the National Historical Register site for both the Tuskegee Airmen and the Tuskegee Institute. And if you're familiar with that, great, then this will be more of a refresher. But if you're not, you're in for a treat. Tuskegee Airmen were the first all-black fighter pilot group, or fighter pilot squadron in American military aviation history. That's all needs to be said to give you the seriousness of the context. Here's what I mean by that. This group, this squadron of fighters during World War II had absolutely no lives lost. They lost no men. Zero. That's important because there were a lot of other fighter group wings and squadrons that lost a lot of men. This group didn't. That's critical. Another critical part is where we are, and this is in southwest Alabama, south central Alabama. And there's a significant history of the discrimination, Jim Crow, racial segregation. So the fact that this group existed in the first place is nothing short of amazing. Some giants. You got General Benjamin O. Davis, you got General Chappie James, that are major stalwarts in the United States Air Force. You've got others that came through to begin their training to become fighter pilots in the United States Army Air Corps, because at that point there was no United States Air Force. The beautiful part of this also is there's a ton of stuff. If you were to want to bring your family along, there's a museum here. You can definitely take them in. I'm not here for the museum. That's another job for another day. I'm here to tell a story of, in addition to the significance of the fighter pilots, there's another story here. There's a darker story in this nation's history about eugenics and the Tuskegee experiment, right? Carried out in the same area, and how these gentlemen were given syphilis and not even given the quote-unquote cures that were supposed to be given to them by the federal government. Now, these are two separate things. These are two separate issues. We can celebrate both. We can do both. We can talk about both. Because it's important that we don't just celebrate, but we acknowledge our failures, our shortcomings. So this conversation, though, for right now, I'm going to give it exclusively to the Tuskegee Airmen. This is going to be all about them. It's not going to be about the Tuskegee experiment yet. But we'll start here. Expansion of Moton Field. Where these gentlemen would fly from. There's again, there's a lot of stuff here that one could, you know, smile about. You know? And taking a walk up to this historic site up here just also lets me know that there's a lot that that's not shared with our kids, because this information should be more than just public, and it shouldn't be something that we have to take towards the sea. This is a proud moment in our history to be able to acknowledge that one of the very best in military aviation history, a group of black men. It's a sobering thought, though, that it would still take decades, and I mean 40, 50 years for the true impact of these gentlemen to be recognized by our government. That is the part that is probably the most disheartening, because they should have been acknowledged from the day we're born. But we also know that at that time, that type of deal was not happening. And that's okay, because we can do it now. Just to show you, that's a hellified hill to take a walk up. So, if you're like, dang, you sound like you're working up. Well, because they felt like it. So, what I'm coming up on is coming up on just sitting area upon sitting area for this historic site. This is humbling. Just to know that you had a group of gentlemen from different parts of the country, a total of 1,000 cadets that just want to learn how to fly and want to belong want to be treated equally within an organization that was designed to protect them. These men went, after they learned how to fly here from simulators here, they went over to Walterboro, South Carolina. They learned how to fly actual planes there, how to use the instrumentation that they practice on, how to make landings, how to take off, and how to use weaponry in their bombers to help defeat the Third Reich in World War II. These men should have come home with a hero's wife. Instead, many came home being lynched to poverty and many other things that, quite frankly, nobody should have to come home to. Nobody should, who defends this country's freedoms, nobody should have to go to. You can only imagine these gentlemen, daily life here in Tuskegee, Alabama, simply navigating the Jim Crow South, Jim Crow Alabama, and Jim Crow United States military, to navigate that and still being arguably the best there is. It must have been tough. But necessary. And I can only imagine those of you who are active duty, veteran pilots, who are in the Air Force specifically, or in the Navy, who do fly, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, or U.S. Army, who have to, you know, honor these very trailblazers. So when it comes to these gentlemen, I salute you. Salute your honor. And hopefully this helps tell your story in the best way possible. Reverence and respect from Black historian. Hey, what's going on? Just finished up my walkthrough, self-guided tour of the Tuskegee National Site. Again, this is definitely one of the places you should go, simply because of the historic nature of this facility, the historic nature of what. Hey, what's going on? I'm closing up this tour of the Tuskegee site. Got a ton of things that run through your mind coming through places like this. The number one for me is how these gentlemen were treated, where they had to come to some place in the middle of nowhere, and although Tuskegee is not nowhere, but in the middle of, they weren't allowed to train on other bases with their white counterparts. They weren't able to enjoy the same level of facilities as their white counterparts. They weren't able to do the very things that they did in the best of circumstances, the best of luxuries. So for them to have accomplished what they accomplished, even with the adversity they faced, that's the legacy. That's the thing that comes to mind for me when I think about not just the Tuskegee Airmen, but anybody who accomplished anything during this time period. We're talking about the height of World War II, the middle of a war effort, in the middle of Jim Crow, and in the middle of the heart of the Jim Crow South. Remember, these are still the same places that fought integration and didn't allow blacks into their schools until the 1970s with forced integration. So for us to have the opportunity now to even fathom what those gentlemen went through, it's nothing short of amazing. If you're in Tuskegee, come here. Exit 38 off of I-85 north or south, no matter what direction you're coming from, and it's 2 minutes off the interstate. It's worth your 30 minutes, 45 minutes to come here. Black History.